Hello everybody, welcome to Cape Rugby TV. Wednesday night, and we bring you the very best of what's happening in the world of club rugby. We've got a jam-packed show this evening, as we always do, and a fantastic panel. But before we introduce you to the panel this evening, big thanks to Hisense, that's of course on board with Cape Rugby TV as the official technical partner. Score Energy Drinks, you know that they've come on board with Western Province Club Rugby there. Big time involved with the Sevens tournament. They just had a very successful tournament over at Blake's during the Easter weekend. So big thanks to Score that's come on board. Make sure you stick around as we give a case of Score a little bit later during the show. So keep your mobile phones handy. Many of you by now would have won the Hisense U970 phone. All that coming up a little bit later in the show. And of course, Dulux Maitland, number 80 Coburg Road, on board with Cape Rugby TV as well. If you want to get yourself paint, tinting, you want to get your house or your construction area spec'd, Dulux Maitland, number 80 Coburg Road, that's where you need to go. We'll tell you a little bit more about that during the course of the show. Let me introduce you to the panel. Jerome Parvater, welcome back to Cape Rugby.
Yeah, thanks JP.
Did I see you last week?
No, welcome back to you also. I missed you last week.
Oh, that's right, I met you. I was here last week.
Yeah, I was in Johannesburg.
Oh, you were in Johannesburg, yeah. You know, you do travel quite a bit. Danny Jones. Danny, nice to have you back on the show.
Good to be back, JP. Good evening, listeners, viewers. Nice to be back.
You guys, before the show, you know, there's something. Jono van der Veld, let me just say hello to Jono. Jono, welcome back. I haven't seen you. I don't know if you've been on this year. I think, have we had you on this year?
I've been on a few times while you've been away. Yes.
Yeah. You know, I was listening to you guys, you rugger buggers, talking. This is the thing about rugby. Listening to you guys tell stories. I think that rugby must keep people after games and after social functions. Probably is the cause of more divorces than anything else. But listening to you guys tell stories is just the most hilarious thing. Danny, do you keep an eye on these guys, and then you guys make up your jokes and you tell funny stories? Is this something that all rugby guys do?
Yeah, most definitely, JP. We have wonderful experiences, and we always tend to share that with other people. And you know, the match is played over 20 times after the match.
It's getting
from
better.
Various angles, so yeah.
Well, everybody, I'm feeling like that news presenter that fell off his chair, my chairs, but you guys, I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's the thing. I mean, everyone's got a different way to tell it. You know, one guy will say he came from the left, the other one will say he came from the right.
And the more you tell the story, the better it became. The better the try was, the better the tackle was. So every time if you speak about it, it just becomes better.
What
It
do you think?
started 5 meters out and ended up with a 50-meter try.
What do you think is the biggest point of conversation? Surely the referee.
Look, certainly, he or she plays a role in decision making. Obviously, the crowd too, but I think more. You always try and look at the good things.
Yeah.
And so you want to share the good things, you know, and you forget about the poor tackles.
It's either
as a player, you forget the poor tackles missed. The coach always brings you back to earth, you know, on the Monday afternoon.
You're either going to talk after the game about the referee, or then the conversation goes to, do you remember when?
Yeah.
And then all the history comes out. Oh, no, yeah, for home. And then it's a whole long story. And then the next thing that comes into is the grass or the water. Then there's a whole other conversation. Rugby conversations just go anywhere and everywhere. Anyway, folks, of course, it is Western Province Club Rugby. Certainly one of the biggest rugby organizations in the world. We went out this weekend to go check out the trials. Now, these are regional trials for the South African Rugby Amateur South competition. Danny, just give us a little bit of a rundown. I mean, you guys had trials at City Park over the weekend. The Southern League, the Northern League, the PAR League, and the City League were out at City Park over the weekend. And then we also want to talk to you about the Super Sport Challenge. Tell us a little bit more about that. But the trials, you've got Super League A and Super League B and C trials, or at least players coming through those ranks. What is the purpose of these trials?
JP, previously we SA Rugby had two competitions for amateur rugby. One was the amateur competition, and the other one was deemed to be the Dizer competition. Over the past 2 years, they didn't have the Dizers competition. So this year at the Amateur South Western Province, because of the amount of rugby being played and the amount of rugby plays, we were given another team that will represent us at the Amateur South. So we're quite happy and proud about that. Obviously, with that in mind, we then needed to broaden the base.
Yeah.
So we're bringing in all the regions, Super League C, A and B, and every player playing rugby on a Saturday will have an opportunity to do justice to their game, and also then obviously if they have skills, we will pull them up into the provincial setup.
So just break down for us the SARU component of it. You're talking about that there's a SARU South component. I'm assuming then that there's a SARU North component.
There's a SARU North component, which is the Bulls, the Falcons, the Leopards, and
basically everyone in the North.
Not necessary, because there's a central competition too.
Is there a central one as well?
Oh,
okay, so there's
central
three.
One is Free State, Natal, Griffins, and North Cape.
Right, okay.
So there are three competitions, and then the winner of each one will play the other two, and then you'll get the champion amateur team.
So how many different squads will there be in, for example, the South region? Does that incorporate Boland?
Boland, Border, Eastern Province.
Okay.
And Southwestern District.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll play against all of those teams.
All right.
We'll have two teams. Our emerging team will be selected from Super League A and B.
Yeah.
And then the second team, which we would just for the sake of a name, call it the Western Province Dizer.
Yeah.
They will be from Super League C, region, cities, central, north, and south.
And then those two squads will play. Will they wear the Western Province?
They will, because it's a national competition. They'll wear the full Dizer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that's something to John. That's every player's dream as a club rugby player to climb those ranks. Huh?
Exactly, and we've seen over the last few years, it's most definitely a stepping stone. We've got a lot of guys from that team playing Currie Cup. We've got a lot of them playing abroad as well.
Yeah.
So again, for any player playing club rugby in Western Province, you most certainly want to get your hands on one of those jerseys.
Yeah. Jerome, I mean, this is the opportunity that every club rugby player talks about, is the opportunity to be recognised and get through the ranks.
Yeah, definitely. And also, as Mr. Jones was saying now, there's an opportunity for guys playing in the lower leagues, like in the regional, in Super C, which is good to have two sides, and hopefully we can have two sides in the final.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to play for your country, if you want to play for South Africa one day, then you've got to do this. You've got to start clubs, schools, clubs, and then get your name on the board. Come to the trials and play a good game and hopefully get recognised. Because a lot of people out there say, my son should have been in Springbok hooker or whatever. But you've got to go. Everybody's mom and dad is saying the same thing. But this is where you've got to come to and test your merit, and from there start the road.
Yeah, there's a lot of obviously there's a lot of teams that you can come through, but this is the sort of a pathway to come through in the Western Province team to come through, and there's lots of opportunities now.
Yeah. All right, folks, let's get an idea for what it is that we're talking about and show you. We'll check out the first highlights. Is, of course, City League up against the Southern League. It was at City Park over the weekend, and as always, a lot of fun. And check the talent on show. All right, welcome back, folks. That was, of course, the Southern League up against the City League match. Jerome, just tell us a little bit about the selectors. I know that we've got guys like Max Macapella is over there, Warren Isaacs, Johan Arends, Hanif Dalvi is from Paul.
Yeah.
So you've got selectors that have got a broad scope of what's happening in club rugby, and what will they be looking for on the day?
Yeah, what we did, they started 2 weeks ago with their trials within their regions. So we gave one of that selectors to each team as sort of the convener of the whole process.
Yeah.
And help them to select their squad. That's what that guys were doing. And then they played, obviously they played their trials and to select their final regional team on the Wednesday, and then the Saturday they played the trial game in their regions. So then all the selectors sit together on Saturday to select the final 35 out of the 4 teams.
But what are you looking for? Are you looking for a guy who knows how to step? Are you looking for highest point scorer?
Obviously, for example, I was looking at the tight five, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And then Max would look at 6, 7, and 8, and Warren would look at 9 and 10, and Mr. Isaacs would look at Mr. Arends would look at 14, 15.
Yeah.
So then at the end, when we're done, then all of us, we have our criteria which we use for what you're looking at the prop and what you're looking at the 15.
So the question, and maybe I'll throw this to the whole panel, and anyone can jump in, is if you were to go to, say, the Bulls will play a different style of rugby to maybe the Sharks. And we in Cape Town will play again more of a running rugby. But if you've got a different coach, you're going to kind of have a different style of play, depending on what type of coach. If you go to a different country, again, you might have a style of play. The Argentinians will play a certain way. So do you have a vision for the kids or the players here of where they might be, what kind of game they will be playing in 2 years, 5 years' time? Because obviously these are the players that are going to come through the ranks. And, well, you imagine Western Province Rugby has got like a certain style of play. The Bulls have got a style of play. Is that something that you would consider?
Yeah, that's what we look at, because we had, for example, a 9 for us is sort of Aaron Cruden type of guy.
Okay.
So that's the criteria that we would follow. If you look at the number 6
Aaron
flank.
Cruden's a flower.
No,
Oh,
it's
no.
not Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith. Aaron
But
Smith.
you got a scrum off who's going to play flower.
Aaron
That's
Smith.
pretty good.
He can play, but like, for example, like him. So that's sort of the criteria.
Yeah.
So that is like within how we see guys, the Western Province way, how the guys play in the Western
So you've
Province.
got a thinking, Danny, a feeling for the type of rugby that Western Province plays?
Look, we in Western Province, we've always been known for the running game, 15-man rugby. That obviously, and the way we play has a lot to do with what happens at Super Rugby. Gert, Robbie, Jerome, they sit and they work out how Western Province would play. We then would obviously get in and we have a group of coaches that we believe are the top coaches in Western Province from various clubs. We bring them in, we engage with them around how the professional people, coaches do things, and hoping that rubs off on them. Obviously, each coach has his own identity of how he believes certain things should be played, but under the auspices of a Western Province game plan around, which is attractive running rugby. That's the bottom line.
Jono, let's bring you into the picture here. Well, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think just to jump in on everything, I think it's important in terms of style of play. But when selecting players, for example, a prop, you have a primary role. What is that prop's primary role? If it's a hooker, can he throw in straight? What's his body position like? What's his eating habit like? Is he fit, etc.? Every single player, be it a 9, can he pass left and right? Is it straight? Is it accurate? Your primary role must first be fulfilled when selecting any player. After that, once you can do that, then again we start to look at certain game plans and where you can fit in and how we want to play. Because you can't play an expansive game if somebody cannot do the basics and can't do his primary role properly. So I think in terms of when the selectors have their criteria, that's one of the things which they look at. After that will be natural flair, speed, etc., etc.
As a coach, I mean, you're one of the top coaches in Western Province amongst the club space and in the Western Province ranks, the emerging side and so on. Do you say to the players, listen, you've got an opportunity, you need to be playing, knowing that you might lose the player to the Vodacom Cup or the Supersport Challenge or you might lose this guy, but it's partially your duty to make him better.
Again.
And you might lose him to become a Springbok.
The whole point of coaching schoolboy club rugby is to make sure that our youngsters have a future in rugby, should that be the path that they want to take. And if you're playing club rugby and you're playing SOA right down to all of our leagues, amateur emerging as a team is your next stepping stone. From there now, we have 9 or 12 guys who are playing in the Supersport Challenge. And from there, some guys go on to get Stormers contracts. From there, they go on to play in other unions within our country. That is the purpose of a coach at schoolboy and club rugby level, in my opinion. Anyway.
I mean, that sounds fantastic. Jerome, that's what every coach should be doing. It's like you're actually carrying the hopes and dreams of each child.
Yeah. So we go further, JP. We go, like what you say, from club rugby. We go to schools rugby, maybe a little bit lesser.
Yeah.
But then there's a certain type of style there. So if guys come up from or they go from school, now they go to the under 19. From the under 19, they come to me to the under 21s. But by then, there's a sort of, they know more or less the type of play that you want, the type of player that you look at, as Jono was saying. So each selector have what we're looking at a guy. So a guy don't come up there, a selector don't come and say like, I want this lock, but he's 1.8 meters. So
now I know you've got the Best Med School of Excellence program going there as well, Danny and May. You can talk more about this. But I mean that means you've also got to this at club level. You've got to be able to talk to the school coaches so that they foster that culture of Western Province of rugby.
Look, JP, we being in Western Province, we're blessed at club level as well as school level. We have wonderful coaches.
Yeah.
Passionate people about the game of rugby, and that's one of the reasons we believe we're one of the top provincial units in the world. Now at school level, being in the Western Cape, we have a number of schools playing rugby. I think the most schools in the country, and we also are quite competitive. If you look at our top schools, our top 10 schools are most probably in the top 30 in the country. So there we also, the school coaches know that rugby in Western Province and in the Western Cape, it's about running. Yes, some of them focus on more forward play than that, but in its entirety, it's about scoring tries. It's more important than getting penalties, that kind of thing. And that obviously, with the top ID, we look at and bringing them into the school, the Best Med School of Excellence, where Wilfred and Jerome and the coaching panels work with those kids. Not all of those kids will go to university or be part of provincial setups, and they go to club rugby. And from there, obviously, they play under 20 and they play first team. So for us, that's one of the reasons we do believe in our holistic picture in Western Province is school, club, province. That's how we look at the rugby.
All right, I think that's what we want to see. It's the only way to come through the ranks. So we've got one culture that's from cradle to grave. Call it a cradle to grave strategy, right? Folks, if you want to win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks, 33090, then all you need to do is get your mobile phone handy and just tell us, or at least SMS the word SCORE to 33090, and you win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks. Congratulations to last week's winner, Muhammad Sadan. Muhammad walks away with a case of Score Energy Drinks. One of the guys from Cape Rugby TV will be in touch with you. That's the word you need. Text right behind me there. Score to 33090. Just get your Hisense mobile phone handy and 33090. Folks, when we come back after the break, we'll be catching up with the rest of the trials that were taking place over at City Park over the weekend. The Northern League up against the PAR League. Back after the break. Moment as the teams get ready for the Saru Amateur Southern League competition. Looks like that's going to be a lot of fun. Danny, when is that? When is the competition taking place?
The competition will take place the 20th of August to the 24th.
Okay, so it's towards still a few months, still quite a few months. Right, folks, let's catch up now with the highlights. The Northern League up against the PAR League in the first half. right, folks, we're just looking there at the Northern League up against the Par League in the first half. Jerome, anything that jumps to mind for you there? Apart from dropping the ball over the try line.
No, yeah. But that game was quite competitive, JP. The first half, Paarl region were sort of running away. In the second half, the Northern region really catch up in play. But at the end, the score was quite tight. So it was a good set of trials.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the second half and see Northern side, the Northern League, doing a bit of a comeback. A little bit more action there, the Northern League against the Par League. Folks, we also managed to catch up there now with the, as you would obviously know, each one of those squads have got their own coaches that are currently coaching in the leagues. We managed to speak to David de Kock, he is the Paarl region coach.
Ja, kom ek sê, die manne is regtig opwindend. Die Parelstreeks manne was regtig uitgesien na hierdie wedstryd. Ons moet dankie sê vir WP Rugby wat weer die geleenthede aanbied om spelers hulle talente te toon hierso by City Park. Dis vir die Duiser span proewe. Ons manne het die week eers bymekaar gekom, 2 dae, maar kom ek sê die manne speel baie goeie rugby. Weer wil ek sê hulle is baie opgewonde oor die geleenthede wat hulle kan staal, hulle potensiaal kan uitstaal hierso vir WP. En die manne sien uit om weer verder in die streek te speel en dit is baie positief. Ja, vir die spelers in Parel beteken dit baie dat hulle vandag hulle talente kan uitstaal vir die keders van wat hier is vandag. Hulle vir my gesê dat hulle regtig excited is. Hulle sien uit na die wedstryd. En soos jy kan self sien, die wedstryd verloop in ons guns en die tempo is baie hoog. En weer eens wil ek net dankie sê vir hierdie geleentheid vir ons spelers wat in die Parelstreek speel teen mekaar en vandag is dit baie groot voorreg om hier te speel en vir ander klubs te wys dat hulle regtig goeie rugby in die Parel kan speel.
Paarl region coach David de Kock just emphasising exactly what we said on the show early on about how proud the guys are to play at Western Province Rugby. But let's speak to the captain of the Paarl region, Morne Williams.
Ja, baie lekker hard en ek het bly uitgekom en die span was lekker uitgenooi gewees en dankie vir alles. hy span, ons was lekker hard geweest. En dankie vir 'n lekker wedstryd. Nee, is 'n groot eer want as skool net is by ons wat saf om nie te speel en ooit gaan kry ons moet gebruik maak van. Het is baie groot in my lewe en hy het 'n groot stap in my lewe om rugby op te tel en ek sal dit voor net experience al wat hier betekent neem ek terug klap toe in sy laap voor Bomin.
Paul, Region Captain Morne Williams there, nice and proud of the boys. Jerome, this is what you're looking for? I mean, obviously they were very excited about playing on the day. Playing for Western Province is like a good geest there.
Yeah, it's good. If you heard what the coach said now previously and what this guy say, you could see how passionate he is, and he said it's almost like a dream coming true for him to play in a trial game for Western Province. So it's good.
Yeah, that's fantastic stuff. Northern League coach Pedro April was also over at City Park over the weekend.
Kyk vir die kort periode as ek mekaar gekom het, was baie goed gedisiplineerd. Ons het tyd gewees op practices, ons het tyd gewees vir ons games. Ons het vroegtydig hier gewees en dis goed om die dissipline te sien van manne. So dit bewys net vir ons hoe ernstig is die manne op die opportunity wat hulle van Western Province gekry het om ten minste compete vir 'n amateurspan, die geleentheid. Dis baie van ons die geleentheid kry nie. Daar's nog baie honderde daar buite wat die geleentheid wou gehad het. Maar dit is goed vir hier ouens, so hulle moet dit gebruik. Is 'n absolute geleentheid. Ek bedoel, daar's so baie van ouens wat op die gehalte of op die vlak speel wat nooit die geleentheid kry om hoër rugby te speel nie. Vandag net die exposure wat hulle kry tussen die skare wat die is, die geleentheid om 'n voorwedstryd vir WP te speel. Dis al klaar 'n pluspunt vir die ouens en ek glo hulle waardeer dit en hulle is optimisties oor die geleenthede wat voor lê. Vandag is 'n proefstelsel. Die volgende keer kan dit weer een van ons hier deurkom. So as ons 2 manne uitmaak, dan is dit 100% resultate vir ons. So ons is hier veel bekommerd oor wat vandag gebeur nie, maar ons wil net die geleentheid gebruik wat ons gegeen was die Western Province om te kan compete vir die plek in die amateurspan. Ek dink ek en die coaching staff wat Elton is, wat ons bestuurder is, wat James Martin is, wat ons ander coach is. Ek dink ons geniet die geleentheid. Dit is vir ons ook self 'n pluspunt in ons beroep as coaches om die geleentheid te kry om 'n streekspan te coach. So op die stadium geniet ons dit net. Dis alhoewel dit nou vir ons gaan. Die ouens maar hulle geniet en hulle geleenthede gebruik. Geleenthede kom min, maar nou is die geleentheid om dit te vat.
Nothing but a positive attitude there, Danny. Interesting what Pedro said at the end there. We talk about the opportunities. We want the opportunities. Now the opportunities are there.
No, that's true, and I'm happy that the players and the administrators are seeing it as opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's all that we in Western Province, that's our blessing.
But you kind of have to also know that the opportunities are coming. You can't expect the opportunity to be there every day. You've got to play. You've got to, John, I don't know, from your side, you've got to know your opportunity is going to be there in 6 weeks' time or in 3 months' time. You've got to keep working every day. You've got to give 100% effort to build up to that opportunity, like you're preparing for a tournament, World Tournament Championships or something to that effect.
Correct. You have to be consistent. You have to train and you have to prepare your body. And if you're going to be playing rugby, you must look after your body. You must be fit and make sure that when that opportunity comes, that you grab it with both hands. But again, like we said, watching some highlights, we also don't want to look at players that have sticky fingers, as we call it. We want that ball to do the work. So somebody creating space, putting someone into space, that's the guy that we want to have a look at versus the guy that's maybe going to hold on to that ball and maybe cost his team a point or a try at the end of the day.
From a coaching perspective, Pedro April, David O'Cork, these guys are all in your circle. You guys talk the same language. You want players to come through the ranks. Do you guys get to, I don't know, braai together or is that
I think, again, in Western Province, as you've mentioned so many times, we have so many players, we have so many schools, so many clubs, so many coaches, so many leagues, so many everything. But definitely on a Super A and a Super League B level, we definitely talk a lot. We get together, we share ideas, we share games, we share coaching philosophies. So there is a lot more sharing that's taken place, I'd say, in the last 2 to 4 years, most definitely.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, that's what you're sharing information, sharing knowledge is what it's all about. Folks, well, we can't go without the players. We managed to catch up with the players, some of the players there. Ian Campes is from Whistling Wheels. In fact, you will remember we went out to Whistling Wheels not so long ago. We managed to speak now to Ian Campes, who captained the Northern League side.
Het was baie tough geweest, maar ons manne het 'n bietjie wys krag. Maar ons boys was net so 'n bietjie uit die game uit, wat ons het die tempo aangehou. Maar ze zijn vet geweest ook. Maar ons zal werken aan. Maar ik wil voor die boys ook dankie zeggen wat uitgekomen het. En voor die coaches wat daar voor ons geoefend het. Ze baie dankie vir hulle vir ons opportunity gegee het en Western Province Rugby vir ons opportunity gegee het. En dankie vir hulle. Ja, dit was is vir my is dit 'n baie 'n eer gewees wat hulle gesê het ek ben kaptein is. Soos ek is nog jong, ek kan baie leer. So vorentoe het ek geleer nou hier uit die game uit en ek sal dit saam met vat. Dit sal baie goed wees vir my en dit sal baie dinge sein vir my ook in die lewe in. Van daar's mense wat nie hy opportunity kry nie. So sy moet dit vat as 'n opportunity vir jou bes wil, jy moet jou bes doen. So dit sal 'n eer vir my wees as hulle vir my kies.
Well done there to Ian Camp. He's captaining the Whistling. Yes, he's captaining the Whistling Wheel side, but captaining the Northern League side. A couple of other players we managed to speak to. Cody Kumali, Craig Reiters from Eerstervier, Mark Davis from Whistling Wheels also, and then Ronwin Arons from Albion. So good mix there. Let's see what the boys have to say.
It's a bit of fast pace, more than what the person is used to, but enjoyed it and it pushed the person a lot, man. So it was nice. It feels awesome. This is this is one of the achievements that the person has as a rugby player. So yeah, the feeling would be speechless, man, because that's the goal. If it happens, everything is part of what you work for, what you put in. So that's all I can say with that.
Kijk maar, bij lekker intensief en bij lekker hard. Het is niet makkelijk, hè. Maar bij lekker was great. Het was een baie groot achievement voor mij. Het was het doel van kleins af aan ik bereik. Maar kijk maar wat vandaag gebeurt, wat het verder. Het zal een great feeling wees, het zal een mission accomplished wees, maar het weer harde week, niet op een verjaardag zitten.
Ja, om in die WP-streekspan te wees, ik was baie optimistisch. Al hele familie het ek gesê, ek was in die WP-streekspan. So vir my is dit baie bly dat die coaches in die WP-staf my gekies het. As die 5 bestes wat daar by ons Whistling Wheels is. Om by amateurspan in te kom, ja, het sal die wêreld vir my beteken. Dat sê vir my ek is net 'n stapie nog nader aan die WP-span. So om daar te wees, ja, sal baie in die hemel is en baie bly ook wees vir die amateurspan om daar uit te kom eendag.
Vir my is dit 'n groot geleentheid, want dit kan baie deure vir my oopmaak. Het zal voor mij de wereld betekenen en rugby is mij alles.
All right then, folks. The boys there very happy about the fact that they went to the trials. The opportunities are certainly rolling out. Let's take a look at some of the pictures that came in there. Pedro April, of course, the coach on the northern side there. He showed this picture there. Very happy-looking bunch of guys and wearing the Western Province Rugby jersey. And in fact, Danny, did you get all those jerseys back?
Most definitely.
Yeah, you got all the jerseys back?
Yeah, otherwise we deducted from Jerome's salary.
But it took a while to get them back, JP.
Those guys surely didn't want to take off those
No, because the guys were taking photos with their wives or girlfriends and selfies, which is good to see. It's amazing to see how the guys treasure that jersey. And it was a mission to get it back.
John, a couple of Facebook profile pictures changing on the Monday after that.
WhatsApp, Facebook, you name it, e-transfer, it's all happening on that side.
There's a few players that have now made it into the Western Province ranks. Another pictures, well, we'll get some more of your social media pictures. Folks, we're going to take an ad break, and when we come back, we'll start moving towards taking a look at some of the fixtures that are coming up over the weekend. Well, we're back to it now. We'll take a look at the log in a sec. Back now. Welcome back, everybody. As you know, the fixtures are back on track now. No more breaks for a while. Let's quickly take a look at some of the logs. We'll take a look first at Super League A. And Falsbayer sitting top of the pile. Hamilton's, Vix, Brackenfell, Tigerberg, Union Mill, SK Warmers. Stellenbosch has only played one game and they're already number 8 on the log. Primrose, Bellagh, UCT, UWC, Durban, NTK and Peniel Villages. Jono, let's look at some of these stats here. Is it too early to tell about the stats? I mean, we were both just taking a look at the fact that Durban, one of our reigning sides, is sitting at number 13 on the log. They played 3 games already and they've already lost 3 games.
Yeah, look, JP, I think it's early days. I don't think you can win the league in the month of April and May, but you can certainly start to slip out of contention, and you could also certainly start to put yourself in the bottom for relegation. So some teams will be a little bit worried, but if you can get a home game and you manage to get a win, I think it's great. But this year, again, SLA is always tough, and I'd say that you got maybe your top 10, 11, 12 teams on any given day. If you don't rock up, you can lose.
Well, don't you think it's a bit tougher than in the past? I mean, in the past maybe the top 4 teams would dominate. Today it could be anything amongst the top 8, top 9 teams that'll go. So if you've got to take every win.
Yeah. So again, everything's evolving. There's better players, better coaches, better infrastructure, and I just think it makes for a much better spectacle all around. Which means almost every week is pretty much a final if you want to see yourself holding that trophy at the end of the year.
All right, let's take a look at Super League B. Super League B, Villages are top of the pile. They'll be extremely happy with their 3 out of 3 success rate so far. Paarl, Helderberg, St. George's, Hamlets, Rangers, Franschhoek, Young Peoples, Belleville, Hands and Arts, Kraaifontein, Kaiserslautern, Collegians, Violets and Silurians. Silurians certainly have had a bit of a drop from grace, you would imagine. Jerome, things are not going there all that well for Silurians. Having been in Super League A, big contenders, big names. Now it's Super League B. You know, as any club, you've got to try and keep your momentum.
I mean, the same with the Silurians. They've lost a lot of players, so they're also busy rebuilding.
Yeah.
And it's tough. And in Super B, you need to play there to get to the top of the table. So hopefully we'll see them picking up a win.
There's no such thing as a perfect record. You're never going to be number 1 forever. There's going to be times you're going to go down, and then you're going to have to build it up again.
Yeah, that's the good thing, JP, and it's just how you manage to get your guys not to give up.
Yeah.
But now it's the time to manage them properly and to give them the confidence, and who knows, they can
get the gears behind you, get the community behind you to help carry you when things are tough. I think
definitely.
Danny, that's one of the important factors. When things go tough at a team, the people around you will carry you.
Definitely, and of course the character in the individual, the player and the administrator. And I do think, while Silurians are struggling at the moment, things will get better for them.
Yeah.
They just need to work harder, and you never know.
Yeah, folks, we're going to take an ad break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what's happening in the City League. Welcome back, everybody. Cape Rugby TV. Every Wednesday, we bring you the very best of what's happening in the world of rugby in Western Province. And if you can't find us here, you can certainly find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. Remember, repeats on Saturday mornings from 9 o'clock through to 10 o'clock. Right, Dulux Maitland has come on board with Cape Rugby TV, number 30, Coburg Road. You want to get down there to Dulux Maitland. They will sort out all of your paint needs, especially in the rock grip range. Go and take a look at their rock grip range. Includes wall and ceiling paints, acrylic roof paints, and pastel primers. So it's everything that you need there. You get down to Dulux Maitland in number 30 Coburg Road, and the guys will immediately be able to help you with all your paint specs. And in addition, they will come to your location to help you spec your site. So you want to try and work out how much paint you're going to need. If you're a contractor and you need to work out how to quote for your client, then Dulux Maitland at number 30 Coburg Road will be able to help you with all of that. And their turnaround time is extremely quick. Folks, and of course, if you get down there to Dulux Maitland, number 30 Coburg Road, they've got a piece of paper that you can fill in, and you can put yourself in the mix there to win a contractor's trailer to the value of 15,000 Rand. And those contractor's trailers, of course, very handy if you're on site and you need to put all your paint in there and your other contract building materials just to get your work to your work, so to speak. Right, we did say that we would take a look at what's happening in the logs in Super League C, but we're going to race through this now and get to the fixtures as quickly as possible. In Super League C, Vineyards at the top of the pile, Strand, Macassar, Busy Bees, Young Stars, All Saints, Goodwood, Scottsdene, Cullimore, Langa, Strand United, Hamadias, Elsie's Rafir, Lagunya, and Wraithby. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all of the other leagues because we need to get onto the fixtures. So there's some big games coming up this weekend. Let's start off now. Super League A, UWC are up against Peniel Villages. Tygerberg take on NTK. It's Smarties against False Bay. Primrose and Bellahar, Hamilton's Union Mill. Durbell against SK Wilmers, Brackenfell, and Victorians. Jono, let's throw this one at you. UWC, Peniel Villages. That's going to be one of the first games over the weekend. But Marty's up against False Bay. This is in you guys playing away from home, but this is going to be a cracker of a game.
Yeah, I think we'll be under pressure. Stellenbosch have come off the Varsity Cup finalists. We play away from home. Our last 2 years we've played them at home and we've won. So for us it's a massive game. I won't call it a league decider. I'll call it maybe a league separator. Because no matter the result, it doesn't mean that the job's over. But But come Stellenbosch, it's going to be a massive game on Saturday.
Union Mill, another big game. Union Mill went out and beat Durban, one of the opening games. They're up against Hemmies over the weekend. Danny, I'll throw this one at you. This is going to be a Union Mill looking to bring back the flair that they put on against Durban. But they're up against Hemmies at home. It's going to be a tough game.
It is tough, JP. I mean, Hamilton has cemented itself in Super League A for a long time. And the Union Mill are the new boys, and I do believe that, according to them, they're going to beat Hammies this weekend. It's going to be tough, but they need to have belief. I mean, as Jono said, any team can beat any team on a given Saturday. So I'm sure it's going to be a good game.
Jerome, let's go to you. Durban against SK Warmers. This is going to be this is one of those you can't call it at the moment between the two teams.
I think for Durban, it's almost like a must-win now for them.
Yeah.
And SK just come off a great win against Uni Militant. And last year I watched Friday evening. I watched SK Durban at the track, which they beat Durban at the track. So that is going to be a decider if Durban can change their season around. So there's a lot of pressure on them to get points out of this game.
And then Vix are up against Brackenfell. Brackenfell have certainly shown their merit that they can stay in Super League A. They're getting stronger and stronger. But they're up against Marty's second side. Not going to be easy.
No, it's definitely not going to be easy. But at Brackenfell, with all their supporters there, it's tough to go play there. Vix got a strong side. They've won 2 out of their 3 games. So they're on a high. But I think Brackenfell can give them a go.
Yeah. All right, let's move to Super League B now. It's Young People's up against Kuilsrivier. Violets and Belleville, Villages and Rangers, Paarl St. George's, Hands and Hearts and Solarians, Hamlets, Collegians, Franschhoek and Helderberg. Kuilsrivier, Jerome, they will be looking to bounce back after the very, very close loss against Hamlets. Young People's, though, they're not going to be standing back.
No, definitely not. But I think Kuilsrivier maybe a little bit too strong.
Might be a bit too strong. Violets and Belleville, there's going to be, Violet's got a home ground advantage, but Belleville have got that dangerous backline.
Yeah, it's almost like a home ground for Belleville also, because they played Collegians at Chaka Road.
Yes.
Collegians Field wasn't there. They beat Collegians there. So that is going to be a close one. I'll say Belleville supposed to take that one.
You don't need to call it. Let's take a look at Super League C. Young Stars and Busy Bees. It's Vineyards and Strand. Wraithby are up against Alsace River. Lunga, Scottsdene, Laguna, Macassar, Hamadias, Goodwood, All Saints and Strand United. In the City League, we'll see Progress up against Masi Pumalele. Police take on Watsonia. Perseverance take on Western Zebras. Manenberg Rangers are up against Silvertree. And Callies are up against CPUT. And then in the Northern League, it's Van der Stel up against Delft. Strand Pioneers against Yesterrefier, Kailicha and Stelkor. That's of course Stellenbosch Coronations. And Blue Jets take on Whistling Wheels. That's on the Northern League on Saturday. And then in the Southern League we'll see Young Wesleys take on Rocklands, Thistle and Titans, Silverleaf and Atlantis Peninsula and Bishop Labors. Alright folks, remember we stand together as the motto at Western Province Rugby. All teams from schools to clubs all the way through to the Western Province sides and the Stormers. Let's quickly take a look at the Super League results over the weekend. It was a win for the Blues over the Brumbies. The Jaguars went down to the Sharks. Unfortunately, that spoiled my Super Brew prediction. The Kings beat the Rebels. The Cheetahs went down to the Crusaders. The Force lost to the Lions. The Reds went down to the Waratahs. The Chiefs, they beat the Sunwolves. And then, of course, the Highlanders beat the Stormers over the weekend. Fixtures coming up. The Stormers will be looking to bounce back against the Hurricanes this weekend. They'll be playing on Friday at 25-10. Stormers against the Hurricanes playing in Wellington. The Cheetahs and the Highlanders, that's also on Friday, but that's in the evening. Cheetahs with home ground advantage. Then on Saturday, there's tons of games with the Rebels up against the Lions in Melbourne, the Chiefs and the Reds, the Waratahs and the Blues, and then of course back home in South Africa, the Sharks take on the Force, the Bulls take on the Crusaders, and a little bit later in the evening, over in Buenos Aires, you'll see the Jaguars up against the Sunwolves. Very exciting. Super Brew is currently happening. It doesn't really happen for me on every game. I'm certainly being dominated in my little Legends pool. But let's take a look at the Cape Rugby TV Super Brew pool as we stand at the moment. At the top, number 1 is Cape Shark, Slung Stainers are sitting in second place, Strip Dreyer Boy, Sabertooth, Tinma, Hubi, Rub 1 WP, Duns, Lucky and Lions D. Those are your top 10 in a Super Brew. All right, remember folks, you can of course share all your pictures and information regarding Club Rugby. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and pages. And remember, we stand together, combine it all under the hashtag #WP Club Rugby. Any photograph that you put out there, anything on Instagram, anything on Twitter, anything on Facebook, please just include #WP Club Rugby so we can all follow all the back channel stories. Thanks again to our sponsors, Score Energy Drinks, Hisense, and of course Dulux Maitland, your one-stop shop for all your paint requirements. Dulux Maitland over at number 30 Coburg Road. Jerome, your plans for the weekend?
Lots of rugby to be watched, JP. I must still decide where I'm going. Maybe 2 games this weekend.
Yeah, not 100% sure.
Not 100% sure yet.
You go to like 3, 4, 5 games on a weekend anyway.
I try to, yeah.
You're the wrong person. I shouldn't have asked you. Jono, you decided yet where you're going for the weekend?
Definitely Stellenbosch and Marty's. That's where we'll be on come Saturday.
Danny, in your case, it's almost impossible. You've got like 110 clubs to think about. Where do you also move around, or?
Most certainly, Jooste and I move around. But this week we'll go to Veldrif. The DHL Western Province team is playing against Boland.
Is this in the Super Sport Challenge?
In the Super Sport
Maybe
Challenge.
you can just quickly tell us in 10 seconds what's the Super Sport Challenge all about?
The Super Sport Challenge is a competition that has replaced the Vodacom Cup.
Okay.
So we're playing Boland this weekend, and we might on our way back pop in at Marmore to watch Hamlets against Collegians.
Ah, there we go. Hamlets and Collegians. That's going to be well. It's on your way home, so you might as well. There we go. All right, folks. That's a wrap from Club Rugby TV. Thanks for joining us. Remember, if you have friends out there that, because we know that you're watching, you've got friends out there that missed tonight's show, then you can tell them to catch the repeat on Saturday morning right here on CTV, Cape Town TV, at 9 a.m. through to 10 a.m. That's a wrap from us. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye bye.